Very good.
Can you see my screen?
Sure.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It is so nice meeting you, and thank you for having me in this session. And like I said, I feel very emotionally attached as just alumnus of KHU. So back in the day, like almost 10 years ago, I was there to pursue my bachelor's and master's degree. And because Dr. Ku, Professor Ku already introduced me so well, so let me spare my time for my affiliation, and then let's directly dive into today's topic. So today I want to discuss with you about my topic, which is strategic leadership in the hospitality industry and navigating top decision makers' roles in corporate strategy and organizational outcomes. Here are our just objectives today. So I want to address various aspects of the upper echelon's perspective. By the way, upper echelons are individuals who are at the top of the organization or of the company. So the upper echelon perspective is a theoretical viewpoint that organizations, strategic actions, and their decision and even outcomes are reflected by top decision makers' characteristics. And also, I want to introduce the status quo of strategic leadership literature, not only in the hospitality domain, but also in general business management area. And also, in addition, I want to suggest some research direction for future research for scholars who intend to conduct the research within the scope of strategic management, organizational behavior, or other related areas.
Hyoungju, one moment. Your
Sure.
voice is not stable. So could you try again the little bit mic test? Uh, Sounds
Um,
is unstable. Very sometimes speak well, sometimes it's down, sometimes up.
okay. So what about right now?
It's good.
Is it okay?
It's okay now.
And then let me speak a little bit like slowly and
Yes, yes,
more
please.
clearly.
Okay. Mm.
Okay, so here are my contents of today's session. So I'm gonna follow this order one by one. Well, before moving further, I want to introduce my research areas for the past like 6, 7 years. So my research themes or my research areas can be described as twofold, which are strategic leadership and corporate strategy. So these two research interests have been mainly driven by my professional work experience, like as an entrepreneur of small and medium business when I was in South Korea. So there is an interesting story. Why I was taking Professor Ku's class, which is e-business course, for undergraduate students. And one day I just visited his office and I prepared and I presented my business plan for like online commercial platform service, which connected Korean customer with foreign suppliers. Well, we just my close friend, who is still like co-founder and CEO of our business, and I, we just presented our business plan. But all of a sudden, Professor Gu happily and willing to invest a large amount of money. At the time, it was so invaluable experience because that helped a lot to initiate our business. So as we like started our like one online commercial platform and we got some success, and then we extended our business scope into like multiple commercial platform business, what like 3 websites at the time. And then we decided to like expand our business activities into another business, which is online marketing consulting business. So we like try to provide like consulting service and like generated web platforms and mobile application to small and medium business owners who have not knowledgeable about how they just how they do marketing or how they just customize their service to their target customers. So while managing my own business as a co-founder and managing director for the past like almost 3 or 4 years, at the time, my major role can be described as three fourths. The first one was the fundraising. So obviously, I like presented my business plan and portfolio to potential investors. And Professor Ku was the first investor who invested a lot of money. And yeah, still I really appreciate that. And my second role was to maintain like cooperative relationship with stakeholders, including investors, of course, and suppliers and foreign supply and logistic companies located in UK, US, Hong Kong, and Japan. And another one was like as a co-founder, I keep thinking of like market expansion strategy, how we can get some growth for our business and how we can be sustainable financially. At the time, I realized the strategic importance of the leaders of the company. So including founders, CEO, and even board of directors. That's why I just came up and I just narrowed down strategic leadership and corporate level strategy as my major themes while pursuing my PhD at Penn State University. So it was pretty eye-opening experience and that gave me a lot of research ideas while like working on this area at Penn State University.
Okay, Hyoungju, you're talking as a reminder of their times. I just give me my short comment on that. You know,
Sure.
Students actually 10 years ago, Hyoungju, he was my former students and taking my e-commerce class, and suddenly he and his colleague classmate stopped by my office, and he explained his just starting up business, and he launching his business and quite settled down well, and then he talking his vision and motivation. So I asked them to what can I do for you, and then they said just that they have small money, so it takes so long time to set up their business. So they demand me some investment, and if they have a 1,000,000 won, and then they can start off very well. They're very good, website, whatever. So I borrowed the money from bank. There's a minus 통장. It's a minus 통장. I
we didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know that at the time.
Sometimes I decision by gut and very sometimes smart, sometimes stupid, but whatever. But your stories touched me because you are my students, and you said you are starting your own business, the commerce, with your classmate in e-commerce class time. So as a professor, I'm touched, and I'm so happy to see one of my classes actually venturing for their career. So that's why. But anyway, I'm happy you are successful, and that I received the money back to with a very good interest. So there was very happy ending story. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very much. Yeah, adding up. So yeah, when it comes to my research area, let me give you some more details. When it comes to strategic leadership, so far I've done my research about human and social capital of top decision makers of hospitality company, namely CEO, top management team members, and a board of directors. And recently, I've been working on some project about psychological and cognitive values of top decision makers. Like put simply, their characteristic and personality and psychological dispositions. So yeah, that's my areas, like the key topics under strategic leadership. And in terms of corporate strategy, I've been into like market expansion strategy of hospitality businesses, including internationalization, franchising strategy, And recently, I turned my research focus to environmental, social governance issues. And in addition, in relation to social factors, I've done my research, both research grant project and publication project about diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI practices within the hospitality setting. So by combining multiple topics under strategic leadership and corporate strategy, I've examined the impact on organizational outcomes, mainly measured by financial market-based performance, accounting-based performance, and even IPO performance in a setting where a private company decided to go to the public by issuing and selling their common stock to the public market investors. So here is a brief summary of my research areas. All right, let me open the session with a key question that we want to answer throughout this session. So there could be several possible answers to this question. So it is no right or wrong answer. So you can, feel free to answer this question based on your thoughts or your experiences. So my question is, where does a company strategy come from? Any volunteer? As Professor Tu mentioned, active participation would be greatly appreciated for our session to become more productive. So any volunteer?
Okay, I will answer. I thinking I operating my institution and I operating the research center with Professor Chung together. And then I got my strategy. It's not a much cognitively. It's kind of emotionally and kind of a very the basic instinct. And my strategy, so therefore coming from something market and then comparing to the competitors and environment together. So the environment now is a global environment, especially in academia, and then a lot of the very good the research center in academia and in Korea and outside of Korea. So I positioned in Korea on targeting the unique one, like a smart tourism, and another one is going out of the country and the internationally competition. That's my strategy. It's not based on textbook, but even though I'm teaching the textbook, but I thought my strategy coming from the kind of my personal instinct.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your opinions and perspective about determinants or causes of strategy. Although your answer is not based on the textbook or theories, like you mentioned, but you cover a lot. What I'm telling you, just later on. So Professor Gu have talked about leaders' roles, particularly leaders' orientation, values, and also he talked about the impact of external involvement, and also he mentioned about institutional norms or is so what kind of action we should take as a academic institution to be a unicorn or to be more successful in the global market, something like that. So he covered a lot. So let me summarize.
Okay. Wow.
First of all, based on the previous literature in strategic management, a firm strategy comes from external institutional norms or conventions. What I mean by that is company has a tendency to follow what it is used to be or what company should be. And another stream of research centers on companies' resources and capabilities so that the company's strategy is formulated after the careful analysis of the resources and capability that the company has. And another viewpoint based on the market-oriented perspective, they put importance on the external environment impact. So the company strategy is affected by the responses to the changes in external environmental situation, such as like pandemic and financial crisis, or natural disasters, and even seasonality. And another viewpoint about strategic decision making is grounded on the belief that a firm strategy has inertia. In other words, when a certain strategy has been settled already, and then it is likely to be changed to some extent over more and more with the incremental variation from the original strategy. In the sense, I would say all these answers or perspectives are pretty plausible. And please keep in mind that these perspectives have been supported by so many empirical evidence for a long time. What it means, even diving into the same topic, like determinants or causes of the strategy, there have been diverse theoretical viewpoints depending on the different schools' thoughts. But today, we are focusing more on human side, particularly the humans who are top leaders of the company. You may be familiar with the successful stories of Starbucks and McDonald's, which are global franchise restaurant companies, having more than like 10,000, 20,000 properties across the planet. But at the initial stage of these two businesses, they were just somewhat successful business in a small local area. So McDonald's case in San Bernardino in California region, as far as I remember, and Starbucks case in Seattle, Washington. So these two global companies would not look the way it does today if there had no entrepreneurial orientation or decision-making of the two first CEO of these companies, like Harry Sonneborn for McDonald's case and Howard Schultz for Starbucks. So please note that the strategy and other key organizational choices are made by humans who act based on their different experiences, motives, and disposition. So even having the same resources or situation of the company, a certain company's strategic decision and choices and its impact on like one performance could differ depending on like organization leaders. We are mainly talking about our just organizational leaders, characteristic, and their impact today.
Hyoungju, I have a question. What is the meaning of idiosyncratic experience? It's a unique experience?
Yeah, so different individuals have different experiences, know-how, and the backgrounds. So that makes idiosyncratic, somewhat unique characteristic and personality that leaders have. And then, this kind of the personal characteristic and psychological values could differently lead to strategic decisions. That's the point of the idiosyncrasy in experiences, motives, and disposition.
It's quite a characteristic and psychological, characteristic, and is kind of a individual, kind of a trait. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So for your point, let me just touch your point later on when I introduce like the key theoretical lens of strategic leadership, which is operational theory. Because what I'm gonna tell about the operational theory is quite aligned with your point. So individuals like distinctive personal characteristic and their psychological values. Thank you very much for your question. So The strategic leadership is fundamentally about the relationship between a company's strategic function and the roles of its leaders. So it involves the process of formulating, planning, and implementing strategy to secure the long-term success of the company. So today, throughout today's session, we're gonna just keep talking about the relationship between corporate top decision makers and their impact on corporate level strategic choices, implementation, and like organizational outcomes in the end. If then, who are the top decision makers of company, by the way? Although I keep saying like CEO, top management team members, board of directors, but let me be more specific in terms of the scope of strategic leadership. Research on strategic leadership has been conducted at multiple levels of the analysis so far. So the prevailing conception of the leadership generally consider the individual executive, particularly focusing on CEO, chief executive officers, or division general managers who are like, for example, general managers of a hotel property. But the boundary of the strategic leadership can be extended to the small group of top executives. We call them as top management team members. And other governance bodies, particularly board of directors, who are representative of the shareholders, are also included within the scope of strategic leadership. So today we're going to discuss how their characteristic and what they do and how they do it, and particularly how their characteristics significantly affect like organizational outcomes. First of all, CEO. CEO is the apex of the organization with the highest compensation, authority, and responsibility. And also the CEO of a company is responsible for major like corporate decisions such as like market expansion, merger and acquisition, and other like decision in need of large amount of money and capital. And also, CEO are in charge of overall operation and allocating key financial resources to certain project or certain division. Additionally, the CEO is the face of the company. We commonly said. And that could be quite famous, like Jeff Bezos, for Amazon CEO, or Elon Musk, for like Tesla CEO. So they are likely to be exposed to the public through multiple like media channels, like interviews, tweets, conference calls, and etc. So CEO work as the main communication channels between stakeholders and like corporate operations. Let me give you a fun statistic. So here's the fun fact about the compensation of hotel and casino CEOs in the US and Europe. And please keep in mind, the compensation took place in 2021, and we already know what happened in 2021. So the COVID hit the hardest, having the hardest hit to the hospitality industry. But even during the pandemic in 2021, as you can see, for example, Robert Goldstein, the CEO of Zen Resort and Casino, made $31 million, which was 866 times more than the median salary for staff. Similarly, Mark, CEO of Hyatt Corporation, got $24 million as total compensation, more than like 665 times the median staff salary. So this kind of the huge compensation gap between CEOs and other just normal staff leads to a question regarding, is it really worth paying this amount of money to CEO, or how important CEOs are for a firm's success? So let's talk about this question later on. And as I mentioned, the scope of strategic leadership can be extended from individuals who are normally CEO to groups, small group called top management team members. So it is a small group of the most influential executives, normally CEO, CFO, COO, and sometimes president and even vice president.
Mm.
So who are responsible for decision making and fund performance. So the boundary of top management team members could differ following the different literature. So it could be all managers identified by the CEO as most influential bodies as a top management team members, or inside board members who are typically CEO, CFO, or like owner's family members. And third one, that is the measure I frequently adopted. So all managers at the vice president level and even higher.
Professor Song,
Yes.
I have a question and comment. In terms of Starbucks, and you said CEO style, and as you know, the Starbucks is in Korean market is quite very well operation, well market, and
That's
then they
true.
achieve a lot of the market share and number one rank in coffee market. Even though that story is true and the fact is true. And still Starbucks is overwhelmingly doing well in Korean market. But however, the owners, in Korean owners is Jung Hyung-jin from Shinsegae.
Mhm.
He's not doing well his own business. Shinsegae Group is quite very bad condition these days, and probably they will almost I don't know, but yet some people say bankrupt or not. Which means he 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 his strategic point in Shinsegae Group not doing well his management style. However, how can he doing well Starbucks in Korea? What do you think
Mm.
about that?
Yeah, that's a pretty challenging question to answer because for a certain company's success, there are so many factors like reflected.
Mm,
But first of all, yeah, you're absolutely right. So
mm,
Shinsegae purchased the ownership of like all the management rights
mm,
in South Korea.
mm,
So right now, it's just Starbucks Korea and Starbucks Corporation are separate companies.
mm,
Nevertheless, because of the like Starbucks like accumulated manager know-how and their
mm,
well managed enterprise system, like value
mm,
chain system,
mm, mm,
I can say that would be pretty helpful, for the
mm,
success, even in
mm,
South Korean market.
mm, mm,
Although, like you said,
mm,
like Shinsegae's like their enterprise managerial situation could not be good, with the influence of this current CEO.
mm.
So,
So I think I just heard from the news about
mhm,
Shinsegae condition and the same question they raised is the Starbucks belonging to Starbucks Korea belonging to Shinsegae Group and maintained very well because of that the strategic norms of Starbucks Group from America
mhm,
and America they control their management style for Starbucks Korea even though
mm,
it's shared by the Shinsei Group. So the shareholder by Shinsei Group, they cannot control 100%, uh, especially managing style.
mhm,
So 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 that's why the Starbucks is doing well, sponsored by the original the American Starbucks. And other than that, in Shinsei Group is just an individual trait, controlled everything. So there's not any kind of a strategic leadership style and strategic norm or whatever management philosophy, something like that. So this quite an interesting story these days about the Shinsei, how come go badly, but Starbucks Korea uh, 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 shareholder by Shinsegae, but doing business well. There's
Mm.
there's 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 another the story. So
Yeah,
if
that
you
would be pretty intriguing research
Mhm,
area that
mhm,
we can dig into, like particularly focusing on like what were the success factors of the Korean Starbucks in the South Korea, like
mhm,
separated from like Starbucks Corporation.
okay,
But like you mentioned, Starbucks has very strong brand value
mhm,
and brand reputation. So even
mhm,
if and from the customer's perspective, that
mhm,
they are pretty used to like going Starbucks, and even when they just go to foreign countries for a trip, they can see Starbucks everywhere.
mhm,
If they are really like curious about like management situation of Starbucks Korea,
mhm,
but like in the most cases, for the most cases, like customers may not know well,
mhm,
whether like Starbucks in South Korea, Starbucks Korea is like the separate group, from like Starbucks Corporation, which is
mhm,
based on the US.
mhm,
But all things considered, so many things that can influence. I could have influenced the
mhm,
success of Starbucks in South
mhm,
Korea. But
okay.
that would be pretty interesting to see
Yes,
more.
yes.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Probably you may start this study, because Starbucks is a hospitality business and a restaurant business,
Mhm.
and invest by the Starbucks America, and the Korean market is quite well. However, the owner of Korea, his business is not good. There's
Mm.
something different, philosophical approach or the operational different, disciplines.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, let me start that kind of
Sure.
research pretty soon, and then I will let you know how it goes. All right, so can we move on?
Mhm.
Okay, so from the boundary of the top management team members, the important thing I want to highlight is that studying top management team members, rather than solely focusing on CEOs alone, they provide better prediction of organizational outcomes according to previous literature. So of course, CEO is a major and the final decision maker and who has the highest responsibility and authority. But when we just look at top decision makers' roles and their function and the influence on strategy choices, it would be providing more like comprehensive understanding when we like cover top management team members as well. The next group, like other governing bodies, like a board of director has been the most frequently considered body representing shareholders. So more specifically, shareholders, like company owners, nominate board members to protect shareholders' value, like by making board of directors monitor and discipline executives and sometimes provide necessary resources to the company. So board of directors are composed of like inside directors and outside directors. So inside directors are typically founders of the company, CEO, and the CFO, and sometimes the founders' family members. On the other hand, outside directors are typically like nominated from the outside of company. So who are like top executives of other public companies or government agencies, sometimes university professors who have like unique knowledge and insight to monitor and like executives management process and also provide resources that the company need for solving their managerial challenges and obstacles. And then in relation to Professor Gu's question, some people may be wondering what is the difference between like South Korea and the US in terms of the governance body who are like board of directors? Because what I said about the board of directors roles regarding monitoring top executives or providing resources and being involved in key decision-making process like acquisitions, diversification. All these like roles are like combined to the US like public corporation system. On the other hand, traditionally, the Korean company, especially the family-owned conglomerate known as like Jeber, to have yeah, their board members, obviously, but board of directors of Korean, like Jeber or Daehyuk, they're dominated by insiders or affiliate connected to the owning family. Yeah, although yeah, this kind of the governance issues or governance matter, yeah, for Korean company has got gradual progress so far. Still, yeah, when it comes to the roles of board of directors and the powers of board of directors, I would say board of directors in South Korea, the South Korean firms are relatively like weaker than that in the US.
Oh,
So yeah, that is an additional note that I wanted to add. All right, before moving further, do you have any questions about like concept and the boundary of strategic leadership so far? Let me have a pause a little bit.
Uh, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Um, just hearing the Ku's question about Starbucks, I just think about, are there any difference about leadership between culture or country versus country like that? Because Starbucks in Korea is most most top ranking store, but as I know, other countries, Starbucks is not so far famous like Korea. So is there any difference between leadership about country or versus country like that?
Okay. So as we discussed with Professor Gu, uh, Starbucks Korea and Starbucks Corporation based in the US, whose headquarters is located in the US, they are like separate companies. But yeah, when you like are thinking of Starbucks properties in other countries, like European countries or Asian countries, they could be like their licensed properties operated and managed by like headquarters of the Starbucks Corporation. But even yeah, for that case, if that is like foreign properties of Starbucks in foreign country, and then obviously yeah, their operation can be heavily affected by like external situation such as like cultural differences or country level characteristics. So that's why when even the successful US company that they got some success in the domestic market, when they expand to the foreign country, they need to carefully consider what kind of like ownership type or market expansion method or just mode they're gonna choose. They're considering all these like pretty uncertain and challenging like external factors. But when it comes to the comparison between Starbucks in South Korea and like uh, Starbucks Corporation in the US, I'd say they're just totally different companies right now. Although Starbucks Korea, they follow like the original system, the value chain system, and the brand value of the original the Starbucks Corporation. Is that clear to answer your question? Or
Yeah, is it clear? Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you very much for your question. Any other questions at this point? If not, let's move on. All right. The next subchapter is about, do top executives or board of directors really matter? My answer is sometimes they may matter great deal and sometimes not that much. So usually their influence is for somewhere in between, based on my perspective. But like theoretically, in the academia, there has been controversy regarding the strategic importance of top decision makers. So as a researcher, I'm personally a proponent of the positive views or moderate views. So when it comes to the positive views, they mention that top decision maker matter due to their power they have, when making key decisions of the company. So given that the key decision making is determined by top decision maker level, like at the apex of the organization, so strategic choices and organization outcomes that could be different, affected by different decision makers' characteristic, personality, and their like personal orientation. In that sense, the role of top decision makers seems pretty salient. What about the moderate views? The moderate view is an extended version of the positive view in the consideration of like external and internal factors surrounding a company. So this viewpoint argues that, of course, the company strategy and performance are influenced by top decision makers, but the impact could be moderated by contingent factors. For the external factors, we can think of the industry condition or the degree of competition between the rivals or other economic factors. And for the internal factors, I can say the company's resources, organizational systems, and organizational cultures, all these internal, external factors could heavily affect like top decision maker decision making and also like organizational outcomes. Next one is, of course, there has been a research supporting like negative side of the top decision makers' roles and their strategic importance, supporting institutional theory or market-oriented perspective that we already mentioned. So it means that this viewpoint strongly count on the influence of market or institutional influences. So based on this stream of research, companies are likely to conform to social norms or conventions in decision-making process. In that sense, the influence of top decision makers could be pretty marginal. All right, from now on, let's discuss key theoretical lenses of strategic leadership. So the concept of strategic leadership has been rooted in the upper echelons theory developed by Hendrick and Mason in 1984. So the upper echelon theory's strong premise is strategic situation, both internal or external situation, give far more stimuli than decision makers can handle. Therefore, the top decision makers interpret strategic issues or devise strategies by taking their mental process and relying on their personal characteristics and psychological values. So we call it bounded rationality. So because of the bounded rationality, they cannot like face or they cannot like handle all the external or internal stimuli because of so many like plentiful like information. So they need some filtering process based on their like characteristic, including observable characteristic and psychological value because of the bounded rationality. So when I studied for my PhD at Penn State University, the Dr. Hendrick, Donald Hendrick was my dissertation committee, and we had a lot of chance to talk about this theory. So what I heard and learned from him is that the upper echelon theory is grounded on psychological perspective. In particular, information processing of all the information that top decision makers are exposed and how the stimuli are filtered by individual like characteristic and psychological values. In that regard, like corporate strategy or organizational outcomes are the reflection of top executive and board of directors characteristic because of the bounded rationality. So far in the academia, We have done so many research about top decision makers' characteristic and composed of both observable factors and psychological factors. I just simply wanted to introduce some key variables under each factor. So under observable factors, there have been a lot of research done already and still going on in terms of the impact of gender of CEO or gender of top management team member and age, functional backgrounds, tenures, and international experiences, and etc. So I would say observable factors, yeah, we can access this data from the secondary sources, such as like annual reports that the company disclose annually, or other like sources like industry report and like the news magazine or etc. And when it comes to psychological factors of top decision makers, like narcissism, overconfidence, masculinity, and celebrity, these kind of the personal disposition and personality and psychological factors have been mainly dealt with in the literature.
Question.
Yes, please.
Okay. Sometimes I argue about the issue of apples these days. You know, as you know, Apple, they financially they are okay, but since the Steve Jobs gone, they don't produce any specific, you know, unique product anymore.
Mhm.
But comparing the Steve Jobs and the Tim Cook's characteristic, Steve Jobs is pretty much masculine and celebrate and overconfidence, even narcissism. So he 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 confidently announced, "I am the best, and this is me, and I am making #1 product in the world, the product that nobody can make it," and even criticize Bill Gates and whatever. But since the Tim Cook, he operating his Apple well and making benefit from those existing products, which is not much different from other product anymore. And a lot of things are already catch up by, you know, ChatGPT and whatever. Even, you know, the like a the conversational AI already actually operated by Apple Siri, but people don't talk anymore Siri anymore. And so I discuss with my son sometimes about Apple. Apple is you know, like a challenging to the market or challenging to the future. Absolutely, we need some kind of people who are narcissistic, overconfidence, masculine, and celebrate mind. And think he is gay. He announced over coming out. And I don't criticize gay, but gay is very sensitive, very subtle, very people kind and some kind of you know very good maturity or somehow. So those kind of a character cannot push the people forward or making, you know, some word or whatever. So that's my just viewpoints based on my just personal thinking. So what do you think about that?
Wow, yeah, that's pretty like interesting question. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I could be wrong, yeah, but based on what I reviewed and have done my research about like psychological factors of CEO or top leaders, you are absolutely right. What I mean by that is the more narcissistic or overconfident masculine CEO is, the more they're likely to behave like even taking risk. So they are kind of the risk taker because of their psychological characteristics, like overconfident. being narcissistic or masculine.
Mm.
But sometimes it can be, it is working, but not all the times. It is because the reason why, like Steve Jobs, like overconfident speech and sometimes like masculine personality or disposition, worked in the market, because that was aligned with the brand identity of the Apple.
Okay.
What it means is because it's like Steve Jobs, was the founder of Apple, and he really wanted to make their product to be differentiated from like IBM and just normal computers that like normal people use. Yeah, in that sense, yeah, his strategy or his personal like trait, was really aligned well, with their brand direction and identity. So in that sense, yeah, it worked well, to the market and from the perspective of shareholders and customers. In that sense, like for Tim Cook's case, because he is relatively like feminine leader and less conservative and obviously less celebrity compared to like um the former leader. So I think that's the reason why that kind of the difference came out. But still, I don't know.
Yeah, me don't know, but just I'm as a
But yeah, it was a really
users.
great point. Yeah, because the example you just mentioned indicates that the leader's role and leader's influence really like critical
Yes.
for like bomb's decision and their
Yes.
strategic like directions and choices and even like market perception from the public stock market and just general customers. So it can be related quite much about their farm performance. So in that sense, like the leader's characteristic matters a lot.
Yes, right. I made a smart tourism and a smart tourism department, general of smart tourism, wherever. This is kind of a challenging job, and it's quite related to the like confidence, masculine, something self presentation, and is quite is a kind of a narcissistic, self presentation. Okay, I will do this stuff among the academia, because academia is almost as similar, and people doing same things, and everybody talking about hospitality and tourism, and very quite not much different each other.
Yeah, that's true.
So so it's like what I said, like the strategic leadership is like when you note here external internal stimuli. I think it's quite related to internal stimuli. After seeing the external stimuli, so internal external is connected each other.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
And in relation to your comment, let me show you the visualized version of the like upper echelon theory under bounded rationality. So like upper echelon theory has been evolving more and more since Hamburg and Mason developed this theoretical perspective in 1984. And I would say it is the most up-to-date version. So when leaders of a company manage their business, a lot of external and internal stimuli hit the company. And then the leaders need to think and respond to it. Sometimes this information load is so huge that the leaders cannot comprehend every detailed situation. So initially, the external and internal situations are filtered through decision makers like observable characteristics and psychological values. So it is the initial filtering process due to the bounded rationality. And then, like inside of the CEO's head and their mentality, like initially filtered information and stimuli pass through the inner screening process one more time starting from a limited field of vision, selective perception, and interpretation, so which generate the construct reality. So that's the reality that top decision makers believe. And then the construct reality through the filtering process work as the basis for their strategic choices and implementation, thereby affecting like fund performance. So put simply, top executives vary. They are different, and so do their choices. So executives vary in their experiences and capabilities and their values and personality. So these differences cause executives to differ in their awareness and interpretation of strategic stimuli and their belief about the consequences. And then the executive will differ in their behavior and choices. So it will become like a reflection of top managers and other governing bodies, like leading to different organizational performance. That is the overflow of like upper echelon theory under the bounded rationality. But what I want to highlight in this like framework, I'm not saying that this framework is wrong, yeah, but what I have observed from the previous study is that when leveraging the upper echelon theory, I've seen a lot in the strategic management literature. Scholars have paid high attention to examining the impact of executive orientation or their characteristic on strategic choices or organizational outcomes directly. However, so even for my case, for my like previous publication and studies, I mainly focus on like observable characteristic and psychological factor and its direct impact on strategic choices and organization process, organizational outcomes. But yeah, most studies have been treating the filtering process as a black box. So black box, hard to capture. The major reason for that is it's not easy to access, obviously, and dive into filtering process is because there are so many complicated and intertwined factors for individuals like filtering process inner mind. So I can say as we like adopt like the qualitative study for delving into inner psychological process to like shed light on or to explore the black box, and then there has a lot of room for like research contribution. But even for myself, it's really challenging to study and like dive into like this filtering process because it's like somewhat demanding for conducting qualitative study towards like top executives or large company CEOs. And I wanted to highlight that the potential research gap. And here are more detailed visualization of the upper echelon theory and what kind of variable have been addressed or examined so far for the decision maker characteristic and how these characteristics relate to certain strategic choices. So in terms of strategic choices, many key decision making in need of large amount of capital and money, such as acquisition, diversification, research and development, or like technology adoption have been dealt with as the function of top decision makers' characteristics so far. And for fund performance, like profitability or market-based performance measures or variability in profitability or growth rate have been mainly used for measuring the impact of strategic choices on fund performance in the strategic management literature so far.
Mhm. So, Professor Song, through
Yes.
this framework, theoretical framework, which is a very good one, and one side is quite understandable. Another side, like Korea, probably this framework can be applied to American system or American context. But as you know, Korea is pretty much we are heavily the conglomerate society, conglomerate companies like Samsung, LG, whatever. the big size company is already, the CEO is delivered to the third generation, fourth generation. So they don't have much gut or their the independent experience. Or they just are receiving their right from their father and their upper generation. So such a psychological and cognitive base value is not much exist in these days, Korea. So look at the Samsung's CEO Lee Jae-yong and Jung Yong-jin. They are almost the same root coming from, and pretty much depending on their family. And then their psychology is not so independent. They are depending on and something quiet. Even that these days, today news is neighbor. Its neighbor is quite a challenging company, and now it's influenced by the government policy and the government issues and sort of things. So this kind of a theoretical framework is quite well fit in the U.S. market, but in Korean market is very much what domestic. I can say, or is not so fit well in this framework. So what do you think about how theoretical framework, and you apply this theory into the U.S. companies, and you can adjust it or adapt this theoretical framework into Korean and such a different society, and that updated version of what the Korean framework.
Yeah, that's a really great point. To answer your question, sorry for interrupting you.
No.
Yeah, to answer your question, first of all, I'm always open to extend for academic contribution and for just value adding to the existing literature for operational theory and strategic leadership. I'm always open to incorporate any external factors or internal factors. So in that sense, by considering national characteristic or national cultural differences, there could be pretty key contingent factor. When we just examine or when we adopt this theoretical framework about the upper echelon's perspective. And the point you mentioned about Korean leaders who are second or third generation of big conglomerates. Of course, I admit that they are sometimes less confident or that they're not that charismatic, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their psychological values or cognitives do not exist. What I mean by that is they have their different psychological values, different from the typical US American leaders or CEO of the company. And even if the case, if the Korean leaders, they have different psychological traits or characteristics, and then it can also affect their strategic directions of the company level, and even just organizational outcomes. That's my point for your question. That reminds me, and that is a pretty valid point. Thank you for pointing out that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let me just move on a little bit more. And another tip facet I have observed from the existing research about the effect of top decision makers' characteristic typically, the research has mainly focused on observable characteristics such as executives' age, diversity, or functional backgrounds, and gender, tenures, and etc. On the other hand, there has been less or relatively less effort to examine psychological values or personality. So, for the same reason that can be applied to this kind of the research gap. It is mainly because relatively challenging to capture. But for future research, there is a lot of room for diving into the top executive cognitive value. So let me just share my current research work in progress later on. But let me just skip and just keep moving on. When it comes to the impact of psychological like values or cognitive value, I'm currently working on some like fun research. So I really want to share it like at the end of this presentation. And another key theoretical lens of strategic leadership adopted in the literature is the agency theory. So agency theory in a situation where the ownership and management of a business are separated. In modern corporation, like even in South Korea or in the US, especially for large companies, publicly traded companies, the owners of a company exist separately who call shareholders. And the management team operate business as agents for maximizing shareholders' profit, right? But the thing is, when the ownership and management are separated, there could be information asymmetry between principals who are owners and agents who are normally top executives. In the sense, while top executives know every detail inside like operational information, the shareholders do not. Then top executives could seek for their own interest, sometimes at the expense of shareholders' interest, which causes some agency problems. To make sure that the company is operated in that sense, when adopting the agency theory, there is the roles of board of directors, particularly the monitoring role, has become more like prominent. So like board independence, board diversity, or board of directors interlocking directorship, or CEO board power dynamics have been mainly examined with CEO or top management team characteristics. And agency theory significantly informs like strategic leadership by underscoring the alignment of incentives and the importance of like effective monitoring role of the board of directors. The last theory that has been also like frequently adopted is like the results-based view by Barney in 1991. So theory has been like proposed to highlight the strategic importance of the physical and non-physical resources the company has in order to like obtain a more sustainable competitive advantages. So meaning better financial outcomes compared to their rivals. What I mean by that is when a company's resources are valuable, rare, hard to imitate, and well organized, and the resources are conducive to obtaining better like financial outcomes. In that sense, the top decision makers, like top management team members characteristic or board of directors, human and social capital, knowledge, all these like characteristic that can work as resources of the company. Eventually, as the valuable resources of the upper echelons are accumulated, and then it can be beneficial for achieving like competitive advantage. That is the logic, for the researchers grounded on the results-based view. But the thing is, the results-based view has less interest in the psychological trait and cognitive value of top decision makers. They mainly focus on like observable characteristic, and they treat observable characteristic as the like resources of the company. And also they overlook the possibility that certain like executives characteristic or experiences can have a negative impact on the company. Like as Dr. Fu mentioned, sometimes it cannot be always like beneficial for companies like performance. Sometimes like certain CEOs characteristic or their personality can backfire. So could be detrimental to firm performance, but the results-based view overlooked at this possibility. But like I said, the operational theory, the agency theory, and the results-based view are the most frequently used theoretical framework in the strategic leadership area. And let me give you like the summary of the integrate framework. Given that this seminar course mainly focus on like intersection of the smart tourism and technology, so I wanted to share how the operational framework can be applied to the technological development or innovation of the company. Of course, yeah, it could be like applied to like hospitality and tourism industry context. So as you can see, this framework is grounded on multiple theoretical lenses, the operational theory, the agency theory, and others here. And
My question,
yes,
this
please.
if the one slide is implied to us very, very parsimoniously how the company are organized and then the comprise of the people and then the strategic level how influenced by a certain point and the resource environment and how what kind of a theoretical viewpoint can be applied into that part. And these days, I just heard from the news, Toshiba in Japan, they are completely disrupted and bankrupt these days. But as you know, the Toshiba is over 100 years, and then they invented many, innovation and innovative things, and like a laptop computer they are invented, and Toshiba is a one symbolic country, one symbol company of the Japan, and bankrupt. So I heard the news that why they failed and bankrupt even though they are doing greatly last 100 years. So probably agent theory, especially, they don't take responsible for something badly decision, and they don't talk too much about upper level about the sincere fact or information, and then the Japanese culture, they are very much hierarchical, so they don't show the leadership, they just give the order what to do. So this framework tells that, the accident and that instant in Japan well, especially Toshiba case. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the information. I didn't know that. Yeah, the behind story of the Toshiba's bankruptcy. Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty like informative.
I'm 10 years, 20 years in school.
So are there any like other other just the reasons, yeah, for their bankruptcy other than like their like potential agency problem, or yeah, it could be like, yeah, because they are like falling behind, yeah, in terms of the innovation level, yeah, compared to other like IT companies, even Samsung and other just IT companies in US. So yeah, what do you think? Are there any other like reasons, yeah, for that? Because I don't know. So I want to just hear from you, yeah, about your like viewpoint, or yeah, what you see, yeah, from the articles or just magazine.
So the things about say it again, about what?
About their failure. Because if you mention your potential agency problems and
I
also
see.
yeah,
Agent's problem is always in order to maintain the organization, we cannot control directly over the structures. So we need someone who can do the job for me. So we need stakeholder. Stakeholder need the CEO. CEO need the CIO, CFO, CMO, sort of things, and then the upper level, middle level, task level. Everything is depending on the agency. So the agency usually, they choose their job for their benefits rather than responsibility. So in Japanese culture, when they doing business very well, and they say this is because of me, and when they badly choice, and then they are always okay, this is not because of me. And then especially Toshiba case, the environment is so changeable, and then because of the technology innovation fluctuation, and Chinese companies getting bigger and bigger, and with the low cost, and Toshiba is they lose the position because of the cost leadership position. And also, even though they got the innovation, the laptop computer, and they made it, and the laptop computer is doing well, but not much updated fastly comparing to Chinese company. So in this case, you already previous slide talking about the resource-based view, which is the Toshiba case, they unique, and the scarcity and uncertainty. So the resource-based view very well matched with the Toshiba's corporation strategy. However, like echelon theory, like a psychological effect of CEOs, they are bad psychological effect in Japan. So that's why the Toshiba failure and Sharp failure, and then even Sony had some trouble in that time, but now it's overcoming, especially Sony and others. A lot of the very good Japanese companies, they are failed because of that the psychological leadership stuff and agent theory. And
yeah, that makes it pretty much sense to me. And in addition to your just opinion, I wanted to add, like, yeah, in that case, like their organizational culture, like worked as a determining factor, yeah, for their failure. In that, because like you mentioned, yeah, because they strongly believe in like hierarchical system, and that is the right thing to do. So that, yeah, could have prevented, yeah, the company, yeah, from moving forward and being innovative. And also like environmental factor, yeah, we can say like their cultural characteristic, like Japanese culture, yeah, who to count on like the conservatism, or like the level of power distance that they allow, like the power distance between different social classes. Yeah, that could also affect like organizational cultures and even their decision-making process. Maybe, yeah, that could be another like factor, yeah, that impacts their failures. So I wanted to add my viewpoint.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, let me just move on. If then, why the strategic leadership research is needed, and sometimes it's promising for the publication purpose in the hospitality industry. Yeah, although there has been like a lot of research done in other industry contexts. So my answers and my arguments are as follows. Like first, the hospitality industry has been like characterized as a property-based operation, and they have diverse management ownership structure, such as owned, operated properties, leasing properties, franchise properties. So which means managerial situation, yeah, for handling all the different types of operation, yeah, become more complicated. Furthermore, the industry is pretty like volatile and sensitive, yeah, to external changes, such as economic condition or pandemics, natural disasters, and even like seasonality. In that sense, like considering the volatile and the complex external and internal stimuli around the firm, like the values or the roles of top decision makers are pretty like important, yeah, for better decision making and coping with the managerial challenges surrounded by the company. Yeah, that's my like argument. And also, yeah, according to the previous research that compared like industry characteristic when it comes to strategic leadership between the hospitality industry and other industry, yeah, they revealed that like hospitality companies CEO have low managerial discretion, relatively like less managerial freedom than other industries, meaning that like the roles of top management team and board of directors are also pretty important to see. Yeah, when we like examine the impact of upper echelons on like organizational strategic choices and firm performance. That's why like strategic values and impact of top decision makers can be important and pretty like valuable in the hospitality industry setting. From now on, yeah, let me just introduce just some of my publication that I've been working on so far. So this one is a pretty relatively recent one published in IJHM in
Wow,
2024.
great.
And yeah, it thank you. So it examined the moderating impact of top management team diversity on the CSR and financial performance relationship in the US hospitality industry. I believe yeah, one of the author already like joined this session to share his knowledge about ESG and corporate social responsibility this semester or just the previous semester?
Last semester.
Last semester. Okay. So in this like publication research paper, yeah, we measure top management team diversity, like measured by gender diversity, age diversity, industry experience, and tenure diversity. So from the research, we found diversity in TMT age and industry experience that positively moderate the CSR and fund performance relationship. And that could be like attributed to the fact that like different age groups or like top management team members having like diverse industry experiences, both like hospitality specific experiences and non-hospitality specific experiences uh, could have working as a synergy for like devising more like effective CSR strategies to satisfy diverse stakeholder needs. While on the other hand, tenure diversity negatively moderate this relationship, and gender diversity was not a significant moderator. So like I showed, this like this research, we can like incorporate like different aspect or dimension of top decision makers. In this case, the top management team diversity with another strategic key strategic choices like CSR or internationalization and its impact on like fund performance. That's the research for the recent publication. And another one was published in tourism management in 2021. And in this paper, I focus on the roles of a board of directors monitoring role, like monitoring role of board of directors. What I mean by that is I just capture the concept of the board interlock. What it means, number of firms to firm linkages generated by a broker, like the company's interlocking directors. Uh, Put simply, when certain company A's board of director, hold multiple director positions of company B and C at the same time, it will generate some linkages among company A, B, and C. And then it can be valuable resources because, for example, when like McDonald's board of directors are working as a directors of the investing company, and then the director could provide a connection when the company had a trouble with the financing or something like that. So it could be working as a like valuable resources and capability for restaurant company. At the same time, for a dark or like negative side, because their capability or their time for handling multiple directorship, as it becomes a more like busier, and then their capability or just their resources can be like diffused and spread it out. if then they're just the roles of monitoring system, monitoring type executives or providing resources, that can like it could be like it could have a negative impact on fund performance. So in that, uh, all things considered, I examined the impact of board interlocks on fund performance in the U.S. restaurant industry. At the time, in the hospitality industry, we found the positive impact of board interlock on fund performance, meaning that the benefit that we can just obtain from interlocking directorship outweigh the cost caused by interlocking directorship. And this relationship was more magnified by the degree of geographic diversification. Uh, so the result of the moderating impact of geographic diversification, that means that the more the company's managerial situation becomes complicated, the strategic value of interacting directorship have become more like important. So that was our finding from this research. And as you can see, it is a previous publication, research project mainly focused on observable characteristics of top executives and board of directors. So sometimes top management team diversity and sometimes board of directors characteristics, which are board interlocks. But what I said from the last slide regarding the upper echelon theory, particularly the psychological side, still there has been relatively less effort for psychological factors. So currently, here are some research in progress with one of PhD students at my college and at Penn State. So this one, the moderating impact of CEO celebrity on the relationship between ESG practices and fund performance. Like you can see in this article, Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, he was a former CEO. He strongly emphasized the role of ESG practices or the roles of Starbucks to become more sustainable for protecting shareholders' value and planet's health. Sometimes celebrity CEO to maintain their social fame, they could put their resources effort more in ESG practices compared to non-celebrity CEOs. So we examine CEO celebrities moderating role in the relationship between ESG practices and fund performance. And for measuring CEO celebrity, we measure the degree of social attention. So how frequently the certain CEO of a company were exposed to the public through the industry magazine, news article, or interviews in multimedia channels. And when we just think of the celebrity, not only they are just famous or they got high attention from the public. In general, just the perception about the customers or the public have the positive feeling toward celebrity CEO. Although there are some outliers like the Elon Musk. And many people they do not like his comments or just his posts on tweets. So but following the literature, we measure social attention and emotional resonance by multiplying these two factors. So we measure CEO celebrity. And when it comes to ESG practices, we relied on the secondary data sources, measuring community, employee involvement, and governance issues and their performance in each sector. So from the we're still working on this project, and thankfully we got some meaningful research. So we are about to submit this paper on our targeting journal, IJHM. And another fun research I wanted to share lastly, that was more fun research about masculinity of the CEO. But when we just measure masculinity, instead of using their comments or interviews to the public, we measure facial structure. developed by archaeologists, like facial structure, the bone structure, has been affected a lot by hormone testosterone, and which is the key like key hormone for determining some individuals' masculinity level. So as we measure CEO facial masculinity with the help of AI-based measure, we measure width to height ratio. So for the width, we measure the distance between different each eyebrow right before the 2 ears, and in terms of the height, from the cheekbone. In terms of the width, the distance between two cheekbones, and for the height, we measure the distance between the eyebrow and the point right above the lips. And we didn't come up with this measure all of a sudden, but we right now there have been many research in archaeology to support this argument that testosterone affect someone's facial structure. So I could say that is pretty interesting and somewhat valid measure to for CEO's masculinity. So by using this measure, we use the CEO power. We measure the CEO facial masculinity and its impact on risk-taking behavior. Within the hospitality setting, we adopted the degree of internationalization, and also we also look into the moderating impact of CEO power. So when CEO power is greater, and then whether the impact or relationship between CEO masculinity and its risk-taking behavior is getting greater or just lesser. That is our ongoing research, and we got some significant research already. Yesterday, I run the analysis, and thankfully, CEO facial masculinity with to height ratio had a positive impact on risk-taking behavior. So it means that more masculine CEO measured by facial structure, they have a tendency to take more risk. So by extending their business scope into global areas. And when CEO power measured by ownership or pay structure, tenuous relationship was magnified. And that was just the finding that I got last night. So I also wanted to share. All right. It's almost.
Professor.
Yes, please.
Got a question. Where did you get these research motivations and ideas?
This motivation. Because there is a common saying in South Korea, 관상 is 과학이다.
관상, yeah, right.
Yeah, 관상은 과학이다. So we commonly believe, especially for Asian culture, we strongly believe their facial structure, and it can be influential factor for certain individuals' characteristics. So we are motivated from that point because my co-researcher who is a PhD candidate at Penn State University, she's also Vietnamese. So we shared our thinking about
Right.
this perception. So we just derived this research model, and thankfully, we got some significant research. So it's time to write up our manuscript to be submitted.
Okay. It's quite interesting, topic. Probably we FWHR, facial width to the height ratio. Wow.
Yeah. Interestingly, from the past studies in banking or Fortune 1000 companies, the studies using the Fortune 1000 company studies, they found that CEOs of Fortune 1000 companies width to height ratio is much larger, significantly larger than average males. So that was our that was very supportive evidence. We decided to take this measure for CEO masculinity. All right. So that's my final thought regarding strategic leadership. So for future research, I really want to suggest to combine the upper echelon theory with other theoretical framework. Because as you can see in the upper echelon theory, although it can like explain how like top executives' characteristic or their personal value affect organizational uh, strategic actions or from performance, but it could not explain the direction or what I mean by that is whether it can be good for like decision making or it could bad for decision making. So by combining with other theoretical frameworks such as like stakeholder theory, results-based view, you will be able to provide a more comprehensive and nuanced understanding of the strategic leadership and its outcome relationship. And also, like I mentioned over and again, like it has a there has been a just research gap regarding like psychological factors and personal trait. In that case, my recommendation and the method I'm currently just and actively using these days is using the text analysis for the interview transcript or unenforced transcript or sometimes CEO letter, because from the transcript and by conducting the text analysis, in particular the sentiment analysis or other text analysis in Masu, we can capture their like personal perception or characteristic. So it would be the great proxy for measuring like how, top executive their inner characteristic. And for the qualitative study, uh, given that like the filtering process has been regarded relatively as a black box, so maybe just conducting the qualitative study, that would be helpful for exploring this like somewhat unexplored area. And when it comes to like contingent perspective, okay, that was just the approach that I've been very frequently adopting for extending the existing framework. So what it means, sometimes I use like national cultural characteristic and its contingent impact in the relationship between operational characteristic and certain strategic choices. So both environmental or organization factors could be working as a good motivator or mediator in your model. And of course, like crisis management from crisis management perspective, it could be pretty different setting from the normal business setting, having relatively stable like their performance. So in that sense, especially for the in the situation of the financial crisis or like pandemic, it will give you a lot of information and insight to contribute to the literature because many research has been done using the panel data in the normal business setting. So if you focus more on like a certain shock, external shock, and then you will be able to get more interesting like research. And of course, globalization or cross-cultural leadership. So like I said, and as we like discuss for the situation between South Korea and the US, of course, like external like factors like the cultural characteristic, even like organizational culture, this kind of the characteristic that can be like working as a like potential and a significant moderator. So in that sense, global studies or cross-cultural study, that would be also a very interesting study you want to look into. I think that's it. What I have prepared for today's session, and I think I spent a lot of time. Is it okay? But
yes,
for the remaining time, please open the floor. And if you have any questions or any research ideas or any like on vague point you want me to clarify more, and then please let me know. So I'm more than welcome to answer and discuss with all of you. Thank you for your attention.
Okay.
And thank you very much.
Let me ask you about questions. The two things. One is like a previous slide. You said you're going to show up. You're going to do research in this way, integrate with other theory and the psychological and behavior analysis, contingence perspective, and crisis management, and cross-cultural leadership. Which those the issues are quite difficult actually. There is several types of research methodology. One is uh, structure-based model. Another is survey experiment design and the panel data. But anyway, the form level, organization level is quite difficult to proceed and then publish. So I'm so happy to do the difficult part of your research going on well. And another one is like what I said, the cross-cultural issue, like Starbucks, Korea, Starbucks, and the crisis management, something like Jung Yong-jin. He's politically mentioned in the social media a lot, and then that may affect their business, his business. Anyway, this is kind of a CEO risk factors and celebrate factors. And the sort of things. So the slide the slide before that you are showing the research model about the celebrate and then ESG. That's quite interesting topics, and you may do this survey instrument or something like the company who are showing off their ESG strategy and practice a lot, and then how combined with the celebrity effect or risk celebrity effect, something like that. How the product attitude and the form attitude, something like that. There's another survey experiment design case for this ESG strategy and form performance, or not form performance, product attitude and form attitude, something like that.
Yeah,
This is another good research-ish for your overall framework, I guess.
yeah, that's really great comments. Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Fu. So yeah, my plan is because so far I've done my research heavily focusing on the fund level or
Okay.
the corporate level.
Mhm.
So my research has been quite limited to this area, like fund
Mhm.
level and
Mhm.
like corporation level,
Mhm.
using the secondary data.
Mhm.
But what I'm trying to do for digging into the strategic leadership like research domain is by collaborating with some consumer behavior research and like organizational behavior research. We are trying to like digging into this area. Like you said, at the we can examine this impact at the employee level or even at the like customer level. If then, definitely, we will need to develop the survey and experimental design.
Mhm.
So that's my plan. Because I've observed a lot that these days it's really hard to publish the article relying on only one methodology. Sometimes
Yes.
we can just adopt different methodologies at the same
Mhm.
time by showing the research, the consistent research from the different perspective, and
Right.
then it will enrich the quality of the research, so that having high probability to be published in good genre. So
Mhm.
I think your just comment is pretty valid and helpful.
So we I guess like Starbucks they are showing what they do, what they have done for ESG and the global crime issue, something like that. So which is very positive image, and that like Howard Schultz, he's doing greatly his uh, business and performance very well, and the people like him. So the CEO celebrity, which is work very well. But vice versa into Korean context. So CEO celebrity is probably vice versa, or or different, opposite direction. So if even the same company is different, the opposite side of the, celebrate or something like that, probably uh, same product and different result, or same product and diversifically different. This is a kind of a, controversial issue, but it's a very meaningful issue.
Yeah, that's true. And I would say that is the beauty of like cross-cultural studies. Like,
Mm,
yeah, by getting like different research, yeah,
mm,
from different culture and
mm.
different cultural background, yeah, yeah, just the research, yeah, per se, yeah, would be a pretty value-adding points, yeah, for the 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 theories.
Okay, and students, I'm done today. Any questions from student side, and feel free to ask your, uh, research, whatever, your life.
No, I have a question.
Hold on. Let me.
Okay,
Okay,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Um, um, thank you for your presentation,
Speak up.
Professor.
Yeah, you're welcome.
네. And my question is too, and first of all, these days I have interesting about non-profit company, like for example, like a UNICEF. So so I just have a curious from your presentation. So is, is there a difference in the characteristics that non-profit CEOs and for-profit CEOs should possess?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So to answer your question, I want to highlight the different natures of the profit organization and non-profit organization. And like you mentioned, yeah, for example, UNICEF is a non-profit organization, NGO. And in that sense, because yeah, for the modern corporation era, the CEO as the person hired by shareholders. So we have the fiduciary duty to maximize shareholders' value. So by managing a business instead of shareholders, their focus always has been like to maximize their value. Yeah, although yeah, just these days, like caring about other stakeholders' value around the company, like community or the governments, suppliers, even the customers. Yeah, they care a lot, and they are promoting their effort to take care of their stakeholders. But when it comes to like the roles of CEO or organization leaders, between profit organization and non-profit organization, yeah, it should be different. Yeah, because initially the starting point of the profit organization comes from like maximizing shareholder value. Yeah, although yeah, we are just currently taking care of the other stakeholders' value as well. Yeah, that's my like comment or just answer yeah, for your question. Is that clear?
Oh yeah, it was clear. And also if I'm gonna start to research about case studies, like for example non-profit company versus profit company, then what should I most think about most important factor that research? Can you advise?
Hmm. Oh, that's really challenging question. Yeah, because yeah, non-profit organization yeah is not my just primary area that I got into. But like I shared my opinion with you, yeah, you should focus on the different nature yeah, between profit organization and non-profit organization first, and then yeah, of course, I'm not pretty sure, but there have been many, not many, but the literature, certainly there have been the literature focusing on the nonprofit organization and its characteristic. So you should, I think you'd better relate like normal profit level organizational leaders characteristic and you have to just apply this characteristic into non-profit organization. Yep. In the consideration of non-profit organizations, yeah, their like unique values or characteristic. I think that would be a good starting point to develop your research. But to summarize, please review the literature about nonprofit organization study, and then uh, find out what makes the difference between profit organization and nonprofit organization. Next, if there is a difference between nonprofit and profit organization, and then how you can relate or how you can adopt like the general level top executives characteristic into nonprofit organization setting. I think that would be like good starting point. So yeah, that's my answer for your question. Is that
Thank
enough?
you. Yeah, it was big guide to me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you for your valuable question.
Okay.
Any other questions from the audience?
Mm-hmm. If not, I will. Okay, Professor Song, how much different from the Korean student and American students about questions in class?
In class.
Their way of questioning or way of talking to professor
Well,
in
yeah,
class time.
to be honest with you, it depends on which courses they take. What I mean is I'm teaching financial accounting, financial management, and strategic leadership and data analysis course. So especially for the courses having like quantitative like information or just dealing with numbers, like even just American students are pretty quiet.
Okay.
So I need to keep coming up with any just like ways to engage them more. But based on my experience for other courses, it's pretty different. Especially for the seminar course for graduate students, they really want to ask or they're just curious about something and they don't hesitate. So I think that's the difference that I have experienced from both South Korea and the US. But it doesn't mean that something is wrong, something is right. But that's also affected by the cultural differences. Yeah, even just for the company level, but for the individual level.
Good.
And an interesting point, the final thing I wanted to mention about the difference between these two like culture setting, even if they do not speak up or they do not like make their voice to the public, it doesn't mean that they are not that good at it. Sometimes that they know everything and already, and if then they do nothing, they don't have just anything to ask. So I wanted to add.
I through my experience so far, Korean students are very smart and very, but they are quiet, and then they just sit and then listen carefully, but things different. Is a research is different. The research is kind of we have to generate idea through the interaction, and we have to keep asking about the research question and the methodology sort of things. So in that case, sit and quiet is not good for the research. Actually, research is kind of finding the cause and result and finding the the phenomenon issues. So everything should be through the communications, especially in the face-to-face interaction. So I believe so. To be a good researcher should be taught with the opposite side or in the class. But it's textbook or taking class and taking credit from professors by quiz, by exams. You sit in there and then memory and then answer. That's enough. Be a good researcher or professors. That's kind of a different story. But anyway, as far as I remember, in those 10 years ago, Professor Song Hyoungju, he is quite a quiet student.
Yeah.
So now you're changing.
Yeah, because my involvement made me change. and it means that I enjoy at this moment. Yeah, to share my knowledge and my previous experience with our just promising and our just future scholars.
Yes.
That's why.
Yes, that means you become a professor, means a scholar, means you keep talking and addressing and lecturing and mentoring and leadership. So without in communication, it's not possible to do work, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You should be changing your personal style and psychological approach as well.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm very happy to see you as my colleague, even though you are the former students. But in these days, a lot of the very good Kyunghee University alumni become professor in decent school and become my colleague, and doing research together and raising our school's reputation as well. It's fantastic, We call that is in Korean language is 청출어람 청어람. Okay, you are doing very well, so it's proud of myself. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for your warm words. And
okay, please one your comment for our students, and then wrap up our lecture.
Okay, so once again, thank you for having me, and I really enjoyed today's presentation, and I hope you enjoyed as well. And if you come up with any idea to be discussed with me, related to the topic that I shared my knowledge and my previous experience with you today, and then because here is my email address, so feel free, don't hesitate to contact me, because I'm a person who enjoy help someone who has a passion about research. So, and who knows, it would be better, it would be good collaboration opportunity. So don't hesitate to contact me. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your summer. You're almost semester done, so it's pretty much a good opportunity to look around and with your new family. And okay, look forward to see you. If you are in Montreal, no?
Not yet.
No. Okay. Okay. Anyway, just to let me know when you come back to Korea. Whenever you come back to Korea. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
yes,
you.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you next week again. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.